Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. First, the headlines. To avert global nuclear holocaust, U.S. groups demand abolition of ICBMS. U.S. urges probe as American citizen dies after Israel West Bank raid. Unvaccinated people are 20 times more likely to die. Muslim genocide threats prompt court action in India. Afghan baby lost in U.S. evacuation chaos reunites with family. HASHIR FARUQI, a legendary Muslim journalist, passes away. Our top story tonight. More than 60 U.S. organizations issued a joint statement Wednesday calling for the total elimination of the country's land-based nuclear missiles. They warned that the weapons are both an enormous waste of money and, most crucially, an existential threat to humanity. The advocacy groups Roots Action, Just Foreign Policy, Code Pink, Jewish Voices for Peace, and Muslim delegates are amongst the signatories. The statement says that the intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMS, are uniquely dangerous, greatly increasing the chances that a false alarm or miscalculation will result in nuclear war. They demanded the shutdown of 400 ICBMS, now in underground silos scattered across 5 states. The statement comes just 2 weeks after President Joe Biden signed into law a sprawling military policy bill that allocates billions of dollars for these missiles in the coming years. The United States on Wednesday urged an investigation after an 80-year-old Palestinian American was found dead in the occupied West Bank following arrest by Israel. The mayor of the village of LIKELIER, north of Ramallah, told AFP that Omar Abdulmajid Assad's body was still in handcuffs after his death. In Washington, U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price confirmed that Assad held U.S. citizenship. He also told reporters that the government had been in touch with the family to offer condolences, as well as the Israeli government to seek clarification. He said, "We support a thorough investigation into the circumstances of this incident." The village mayor, Fuad Mouti, said Assad and his family were returning from visiting relatives when around 30 to 40 Israeli troops carried out a pre-dawn operation. Mouti said they stopped the cars in the village center and arrested the passengers inside and handcuffed them. After the troops withdrew, villagers found Assad's body in a building under construction. In a brief statement, the Palestinian Health Ministry confirmed the mayor's version of the events, adding that Assad had died of a heart attack. A Muslim civil rights group today called on Alabama State Representative Mike Holmes to drop his membership in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. It is unacceptable for a lawmaker whose duty it is to represent all constituents in his district to be a member of an organization that honors traitors and white supremacists, said Ibrahim Hooper, director of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR. Holmes, informed of Hooper's statement, declined CAIR's request. "I have no plans of leaving the Sons of Confederate Veterans," said Holmes, reached by AL.com this morning. Democracy defenders on Wednesday cheered a ruling by the Ohio Supreme Court that invalidated Republican-drawn state legislative district maps. A majority of the justices found these were unconstitutionally gerrymandered against the will of the state's voters. In a 4-3 decision, they ordered the maps redrawn as the GOP-controlled Ohio Redistricting Commission failed to draw legislative districts that correspond with the statewide voter preference of Ohioans. The commission now has 10 days to come up with a new plan that is constitutional. Former Ohio State Senator and U.S. congressional candidate Nina Turner tweeted her support in response to the ruling. She said, "I applaud the decision of the Ohio Supreme Court to uphold the law and strike down these maps." Top U.S. infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci on Wednesday reiterated the stark warning that COVID-19 will probably infect most Americans eventually, but added a caveat. He said, "If you're vaccinated and you're boosted, the chances of you getting sick are very, very low." At a Senate hearing Tuesday, Fauci said that unvaccinated people are 20 times more likely to die. He also said 17 times likelier to be hospitalized and 10 times likelier to be infected than the vaccinated. The Biden administration said Wednesday it is considering ways to make high-quality masks more widely available to Americans. This is as the Omicron variant fuels an unprecedented surge in transmission. In related news, Senator Bernie Sanders and more than 50 Democratic lawmakers on Wednesday introduced legislation to send high-quality masks to every American. This is amid a push to get the public to wear better masks given the Omicron surge. The legislation would send every person in the country a package of 3 N95 masks. These would provide significantly better protection than the cloth mask many people have been wearing. Prices of KN95 masks have gone up. A pack of 40 K95 masks from the Hodo Deal brand now costs $79.99, up from just $16.99 in late November. 3 Supreme Court justices in India are launching an investigation into threats by Indian Hindu religious leaders against the Muslim minority in the northern state of Uttarakhand. The announcement comes after Anjana Prakash, a retired Supreme Court justice, filed a petition. The incendiary remarks were reportedly made at a Hindu religious parliament last month. The organizers of the event announced 10 million Indian rupees to recruit Hindu suicide bombers. Another leader called to kill 2 million Indian Muslims and to expel Muslims from India. The speakers invoked the 2017 Burmese genocide of Rohingya Muslims as an example to be followed in dealing with Indian Muslims. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is being criticized for not speaking out against the call for genocide against Muslims. Dr. Saleha Ahsan, who lost her father last year to COVID-19, called for the resignation of UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. This was after he held a party and made jokes about the virus, in violation of the COVID-19 bans in the country. The Mirror newspaper reported that several parties with 40 to 50 people were held and large amounts of alcohol consumed at them. Johnson and his cabinet had been adamant for more than a week that no rules were broken in the late 2020 festivities. Ahsan, who is also spokesperson of the COVID-19 Bereaved Families for Justice, considered the violation of measures and organizing a party as disgusting. She described Johnson as a public health hazard and said his behavior sends a clear message to the people: we are better than you. British Muslims were disproportionately affected by COVID-19. 15% of all physicians who died in the UK saving lives during the pandemic have been Muslims, while their proportions in the population is only 6%. In August 2021, Afghan taxi driver Hamid Safi found a 2-month-old boy alone in the Kabul airport amongst the chaos of the US troop withdrawal. He and his wife took the baby in and cared for him as a social media campaign to find the family was underway. Now, 7-month-old Sohail Ahmadi has been reunited with his grandfather and aunt and will soon be joining his parents and siblings in the United States. Pakistan has finalized a $63 million education package for Afghan students and plans to establish a university campus in Kabul, Afghanistan's capital, a senior official said on Monday. The Ministry of Education and Professional Training package includes 3,000 scholarships, free training with stipends for 5,000 Afghan nationals. It also includes free training for 150 Afghan teachers, 100 nursing diploma scholarships, and the establishment of the Allama Iqbal Open University Regional Campus in Kabul. The aim is to improve the education sector and skill development, according to a senior Pakistani government official who spoke to Anadolu Agency on condition of anonymity. The International Jurists Union expressed great concern Sunday over the human rights situation in Tunisia after late July. Najati Jailan, the union's general secretary, called on Tunisian authorities to respect their international obligations. The organization cited a December 31st incident in which security agents in civilian clothes intercepted the car of a former justice minister and the deputy chairman of the Ennahda party. Nuruddin Baria and his wife Fatih al-Baldi, who work for the Interior Ministry, were detained. These incidents happened after Tunisian President Kais Saied ousted the government on July 25th last year, suspended parliament, and assumed executive authority. Ahmed Ghussam, Imam of the Cannes Mosque in France, denounced the planned closure of the mosque on the French Riviera. This was after France's Interior Minister ordered its doors to be shut because of anti-Semitic remarks made there. Imam Ghussam said that the person being accused today is the former director who does not live in the city and has no link to the mosque. French Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin regularly announces closures of mosques without any due legal process. He claims to have shut down 92 mosques in the country and has cancelled resident permits of 36,000 Muslims, calling them a threat to the public. According to the French government, there are a total of 2,623 mosques and Muslim prayer halls in the country. HASHIR FARUQI, a British Muslim intellectual, passed away in London on January 11th. The 92-year-old journalist was born in January 1930. He was a student leader of the Pakistan movement and migrated to the country after its establishment in 1947. Farooqi founded the influential English-language Muslim news magazine Impact International in London in 1971. The publication folded in 2006. Farooqi is survived by 3 sons and a daughter. During the Iranian Revolution, he was in the news as he was a hostage in the 1980 Iranian embassy siege. People remember his efforts to end the siege peacefully. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment on Indian Muslims being vilified on social media. So stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
I am what hunger looks like in America. I am an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for the last day of school. Because this may be the last time I'll have lunch.
Till September.
I am a single father of 2 who works 3 part-time jobs,
and that's still not enough to put food on the table.
I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger.
Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. Imagine waking up to find out that you are being auctioned on an online forum. Today, we're going to be talking to AMINA KAUSAR, who is an Indian-American Muslim entrepreneur and activist. And a few days ago, she found out that she'd been put up for auction on an Indian app known as Bully Buy. This app, which was designed by Hindu extremists, was a targeted attempt to humiliate, intimidate, and silence sexual and glorify sexual violence against Muslim women who have been outspoken critics of the Hindu nationalist government in India. Welcome, Amina.
Thank you, Hena.
So, Amina, walk us through what happened and how did you find out that you were on the app?
An app was created and it was called Bully Buy to auction Indian Muslim women who are really vocal against the current government in India. If a person would download the app, they would be seeing a background of pastel pink emojis, and it would read your bully buy of the day as a header text. So Bully Buy was a copycat of another auction app that was called Sully Deals, which was launched in June 2021. And it was taken down in about a full 20 days of reporting on GitHub of allowing men to harass Muslim women and indulge in rape fantasies with them. Underneath the picture of the women would be, they would be advertising her as a prostitute accompanied by her social media handle. I found out about me being a victim after I would say 2 whole days of the Bully Buy app's existence. A friend of mine has texted me a screenshot and with my own picture and a Twitter handle underneath it.
So what went through your mind and how has this impacted you and your activism?
Initially, I was shocked at how emboldened they are. There was disgust for their depravity, realizing that I am so vulnerable even in this country of United States. I pretty much thought always that, I am pretty safe and protected by the First Amendment right in the United States. And ever since I saw myself on the app, I have had this strong outburst of emotions that range from uncontrollable rage that would seize me, unexpectedly. And I feel the horror for my fellow sisters in India who have been targeted by this same app, and they would have to navigate through not just Twitter or not just the social media that they are vocal at, but also the actual streets in India, and also face their family at the same time, their co-workers at the same time. I feel so disgusted at being objectified in the most revolting and humiliating manner. There have been huge double standards of social media platforms, from United States versus India, where Twitter, if we can take an example of Twitter, could literally suspend the account of the president of United States, Trump, when he was there. But the accounts of Indian BJP leaders or RSS activists continue to spread hate day in and day out, call for violence, call for genocide, call for killing, mass extermination of Indian Muslims. And these social media platforms have taken no resolve to even take down their tweets or, suspend the accounts of hate mongers amongst the social media.
And why is that so? Can you explain to our audience, is Twitter India handled separately from Twitter, the American Twitter company?
The mother entity is the same, it's the same company, but I think the rules change once you are in a different country. And as far as I know, it is said that the tech companies are more pro-government, especially in India, because the moment you are anti-establishment at this juncture in the Indian political scenario, where genocide is brewing and people are talking about the mass extermination of minorities, especially Muslims, I think there is this fear that the government would not let the tech companies be in the country, or things like if they would not act according to the governmental policies, or I wouldn't even term that as policies, but rather if they do not cooperate with the government, they would be held accountable or brought to justice by some means or the other, or banned for that matter in the country.
Let's talk about women's rights organizations in the West. Has anybody spoken on this issue in solidarity with Muslim women who have been facing this organized campaign of online abuse, such as sully deals and bully buy apps?
Surprisingly, I do not know of any women's rights organizations in the West who have spoken on the issue. Like, no one has contacted me for a quote, or I don't know if, as far as I know, no other Indian Muslim sisters back home have been contacted for their opinions or interviews, or perhaps even it wouldn't be a mistake saying that no one stood in solidarity with my sisters in India, with my community who is undergoing this whole trauma right now, or myself being alone here. Even the response from American media has been less than satisfactory. I have been trying to write op-eds and create awareness and speak as much as possible, but I don't see a huge uproar, or I don't see a huge interest from either women's rights organizations or in general the US media to pay attention to what is happening to Indian Muslim women at this point.
Are you planning to take this to court?
So this has happened twice in about 6 months on the same platform. I am in consultation with attorneys to explore legal avenues. I might not be able to talk much about it at this time, but we are trying to see and hold not just GitHub accountable, but also other tech companies that they cannot shrug off the violence or the kind of perpetration that's being done using their app. So they need to be held accountable for the things their apps are being used, or the tech firms, the technology is being used, not just to humiliate Indian Muslim women, but also to spread hate speech against minorities, and also create a hostile environment for the minorities in India.
Now, what are your recommendations for the Indian government as a Muslim woman activist who's been targeted? We understand that it is a BJP government, is an extremist government, but what would you like to see the Indian government do?
I'm sorry, I'm smiling at that question because it's so unfortunate that so many people have spoken about the current Narendra Modi government in India, who have done, I would say, minimal to nothing to curb the hate speech. Rather, people who spread hate are entertained, called in, given platforms to speak, and it's utter disgustful that they are also members of the parliament, or they are given seats in their parties, and this is not the first time, or Bulibai is not the first app that has been released to humiliate the Indian Muslim women. Since the past 2 years, this has happened multiple times on multiple tech platforms, from Sully Deals, which was like 6 months ago, to where Hindu men were rating, sexually abusing, and making gruesome talks, having rape fantasies, being made in such a disgustful detail against the Muslim women using, apps like Reddit or YouTube, for that matter. There have been multiple uses of tech to humiliate and make disgustful and sexual fantasies being placed with Muslim women. And this is not a fresh rot in the society. This has been happening for over 2 years now, and this is taking more and more, I would say, occurrences because the current government or the current police in those states have not been effectively taking any action. And there should be a global, I think, corporate action, not just in India, but these companies, these tech companies are globally present, so they should have a global policy per se, and also run it down through India. And I somehow think that these platforms and we have seen the case of Rohingyas as well, how these platforms, these tech companies are being used to brew genocide, spread hatred, misinformation for that matter, even WhatsApp. Like India's misinformation factory runs on WhatsApp. So they send out all the misinformation through WhatsApp, and then it's publicized through Facebook and Twitter. Recent news came up with a tech fog. That's an app that has been created by the current regime. So all sorts of measures are being taken to create all sorts of misinformation and make the environment very hostile. To be really answering your question on what I expect out of the Indian government right now, I have zero expectations from the current BJP government. But if I have to, or if I had to talk about an ideal society where people would be heard, then I think there is no need to even tell the government what action should be taken. The case filed for bully deals was with the Mumbai police, where there is a state government which is not BJP led, and they took action within a week of an FIR being filed. So I think that is how swift and that is how quick you should be, especially when it comes to minority women. You assure them that they are safe in this country, which I think is lacking, and they are not even wanting to do that. They do not want the minorities to feel safe, especially Muslims in this country. Coming back from the CA laws to all sorts of things that the current government is doing to just make sure that they are humiliating Indian Muslims day in and day out, and keeping them on their foot. The mob lynchings to the rapes to everything that is happening on ground. The hate speeches, the recent hate speeches which went viral. There was a 3-day genocidal conference where they were calling for rape threats and killings and killing the minorities in the open, and no action has been taken by now, or no arrests have been made by now. And in an ideal world, like you hear someone say, let's go kill someone. In an ideal world, you would see them arrested. But I think in India, it's different. You see them as ministers, or you see them in the parliament sitting down and talking more about it. That's very disgustful.
That's a few points that you made, especially concerning the rape fantasies. As we all know, that rape is a tool of genocide. It's a tool of war. It has been used against minority communities around the world over centuries to subjugate. So when a warning call like that, these are warning signs that these folks are sending out through the tech world by putting these digital auctions up. Do you think, judging from your activism and you keeping an eye on this issue, has Hindu radicalism become mainstream in India?
Definitely, I think yes. Hindu radicalization is very much mainstream. It wasn't a couple of years ago. It wasn't before 2014 when the current regime came into power. To begin with, you only have to look at the profiles of those 4 people who have been charged with the Bully Boy app. All young adults, 21 years old, 18 years old. They are studying in premier institutions, coming from decent families, some from rich, some from upper middle class families, and they have been feeding on a slow drip of hatred on Muslims through the mainstream news, as well as the fake news that's spread by WhatsApp and WhatsApp forwards. And one accused person's father remarked that their son was used to only watch a single news channel. Now, the news channel wasn't mentioned, but everyone knows what news channel that is spreading hate against Muslims. And then that actually was a trigger for him to actually create the app so that he could humiliate the Muslim women more. So, and all these interviews, when you look at them, the kids, I'm sorry, I take the word back, the young adults, they are not ashamed of their deed. They go online, they go and say that they are not ashamed of what they've done and they would be doing it again. So I think, you should be having a look at Open Call for Genocide made by Yati Narsingananda and the so-called Sadhvi Annapurna in the Haridwar conference, which took place not long ago. And I would not be, wrong to say that the mass media has and is radicalized and is regularly committing acts of violence towards Muslim communities. You can look at TV channels like Sudarshan TV, where the news editor Suresh recently made Hindu youth pledge on his channel to kill to save their religion. Like, this is hilarious that a country with 80% of the majority, where the Hinduism is like the 80% in majority, feel threatened by a minority of 12 to 15%, and how they think it is okay to go mainstream and pledge on national television to kill minorities. If it weren't mainstream, then why would Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, follow Twitter users who abuse women, especially Muslim women? And when Modi first became Prime Minister, he even invited these trolls to his residence to celebrate their combined victory. So how mainstream can it get? Like, when the Prime Minister himself is involved with these perpetrators or to be rape accused people, or when you let these people in the society, what do you think would be happening?
I did want to, since you are an American, what about the US? What do you have to say to the Biden government on the dangers of Hindu radicalization spreading right here in the United States?
As I mentioned earlier, as a Muslim woman in this land, I felt really, really safe. And no longer do I feel safe. I feel threatened. I feel that I would be attacked or I might be harmed even in the United States. My message to the Biden government, I would want to take a step, like I would cut short your question into two questions. For your first question, I think the Hindu radical organizations have formed deep roots in the United States, and the Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh, that's an army of RSS, is well integrated in the American system and American politics. The HSS serves as an international propaganda mouthpiece of the RSS and its genocidal Hindu nationalist agenda. Last year, during Raksha Bandhan, a major Hindu festival, Mayor Ethan Baker thanked HSS for celebrating the festival in the city of Troy, Michigan. He later had to apologize for at least some part of it, because many right-wing Hindu groups in the United States were supporting Mr. Modi and are infiltrating US politics at every level. They are coming back in a way, especially in the US, to try to normalize the dehumanization, normalize the ask and call for genocide in India. And they are speaking more and more about it. And they are talking about how it's okay and how it is to be done to protect the Hindus. So I think it's very much in the US, and it is, I would urge President Biden to ask hard questions from India. He and Vice President Harris should pressurize Mr. Modi to make strong statements, not just against the bully deals and the silly deals, but also whenever there are hate speeches mainstream live in India. Mr. Modi has not even condemned these perpetrated acts, even on social media. I would also like President Biden to ask Mr. Modi to control rising Islamophobia in India, which has now turned genocidal. There are 10 stages of genocide when you read about it. India is on the stage 8, that is persecution. And then there are stages 9 and 10, then there are the denial stages where you deny that you have done something. So my ask from President Biden is that he also call on these tech companies like Meta and Twitter to take specific measures to ensure women to be able to speak up on these platforms without fear for their safety.
Well, thank you so much, Amina, for being here and for your activism.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.